Captain Ethan Carter stood at the window of the Earth Defense Force headquarters, gazing at the clear blue sky. It was too nice a day for a war declaration, he thought. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived just 3 hours ago, and now he was waiting for the emergency briefing to begin. The door slid open behind him, and Admiral Lisa Wright entered the room. Her expression was calm, almost amused. "Captain Carter, glad you could make it on short notice," she said, gesturing for him to take a seat at the large conference table. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Admiral," he replied. "It's not every day we get threatened by the collective might of 17 alien civilizations." The room filled quickly with military officers, government officials, and scientists. Screens around the room displayed the formal declaration from the Galactic Council, translated from their standard communication format. The document was impressive in its verbosity, listing numerous grievances against humanity. Admiral Wright tapped her tablet, and the main screen switched to a recording of the Council representative, a tall blue-skinned being with 4 arms and compound eyes. "People of Earth," the alien began, "the Galactic Council has deemed your species a threat to cosmic stability. Your dangerous unpredictability, your rapid technological advancement, and your barbaric history make you unfit for peaceful coexistence. Surrender now and accept Council governance, or face complete military action." Someone snorted with laughter in the back of the room. "They're serious," said General Paul Harris, though he was fighting a smile himself. "Their fleet is already moving toward our solar system." Admiral Wright nodded. "The Council expected us to panic and surrender immediately. According to our intelligence, most species brought into the Council fold did exactly that." "What does our president say?" asked Dr. Emma Wilson, the lead xenobiologist. "She says we should respond in a way they won't expect," Wright replied. "No panic, no emergency broadcasts, no martial law. We act like this is a minor inconvenience." Captain Carter leaned forward. "So instead of giving them the fear they want, we shrug it off," finished the Admiral. "We make them doubt themselves. They've built us up as monsters in their minds, but they've never actually met us in combat. Our ships aren't designed for war," General Harris pointed out. "We've only had FTL capability for 8 years. "Yes, but they don't know that," said Wright. "Their intelligence is based on intercepted transmissions, mostly our entertainment broadcasts. They think our science fiction is documentary." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "So they believe we have planet-destroying weapons and vast armadas?" asked Carter. "Exactly," Wright smiled. "And we're going to let them keep believing it while we prepare the reality." Dr. Wilson raised her hand. "But shouldn't we try to open diplomatic channels? Explain the misunderstanding." "We did," said Wright. "Our response to their declaration was an invitation to send representatives to Earth for a friendly chat to clear things up. They interpreted it as mockery." Captain Carter couldn't help but laugh. "So what's the actual defense plan?" Admiral Wright's expression turned serious for the first time. "We repurpose what we have. Mining vessels become combat ships. Research stations become outposts. Every civilian ship with FTL gets emergency modifications. We have 6 weeks before their main fleet arrives." "And if they send advance forces sooner?" asked Carter. Wright's smile returned, fierce and determined. She stood up, looking around the room at each person. "Let them come," she said, delivering the words that would soon become famous throughout human space. "We've been waiting for a proper introduction." As the meeting continued, Captain Carter found himself strangely calm. Perhaps it was the absurdity of it all, being threatened by aliens who feared humans based on Star Trek reruns, or perhaps it was the confidence in Admiral Wright's voice. Either way, as humanity prepared for its first interstellar war, the mood wasn't one of terror, but of quiet determination. The Galactic Council had declared war. Humanity shrugged. Lieutenant Olivia Ross stared at the holographic display, her eyes narrowed in concentration. The intelligence briefing room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. For 3 days straight, She had been analyzing every piece of data on the Galactic Council's military capabilities. What she discovered was almost funny. "They think we have what?" asked General Harris, who had stopped by for an update. "Planet busters, sir. And apparently a fleet of stealth destroyers hiding in the Orc cloud," Ross replied, pointing to the intercepted Council communications. "They believe we have military bases on Mars, Venus, and Europa, with thousands of warships ready to launch. We have exactly 12 ships that can travel beyond our solar system, and none of them were built for combat," the general said with a shake of his head. Ross nodded. "It gets better. They think our entertainment broadcasts are military propaganda designed to intimidate other species. Their intelligence reports cite Star Wars as evidence of our superweapon capabilities." A soft chuckle escaped the general. "So they're preparing to fight a galactic empire, but instead they're getting us," Ross finished. "Just regular humans who figured out faster-than-light travel a few years ago and were hoping to make friends." The display shifted to show Council battle formations. 17 different alien species had contributed ships to the armada approaching Earth. Different designs, different technologies, all united against the perceived human threat. "Have they ever fought together before?" Ross asked suddenly. The general frowned. "What do you mean?" "These species, have they ever conducted joint military operations? Their formations look textbook perfect, but rigid. No adaptation for the different ship types." General Harris leaned closer to the display. "You might be onto something, Lieutenant." "What else?" Ross pulled up more data. "Their communications show frequent arguments about tactics. The Zentari want to attack directly. The Merovians insist on a more cautious approach. And the Keldurans are only participating because they're afraid of Council sanctions. A coalition that's never fought together. Afraid of an enemy they've built up in their minds." Harris mused. "We can use this." Outside the briefing room, Earth was preparing. Civilian shipyards worked around the clock converting cargo vessels and scientific explorers into makeshift warships. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids were repurposed as weapons. Ore haulers became troop transports. Ross followed the general to the main command center where Admiral Wright was reviewing progress reports. "Our diplomatic teams report the Council ambassadors are confused by our lack of panic," Wright told them. "They expected mass hysteria, martial law, desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, we invited them to the World Cup finals next week. Are we actually ready for this fight, Admiral?" Ross asked. Wright's expression grew serious. "No. By any conventional measure, we're outmatched. But we have advantages they don't know about." She pointed to a report on Ross's tablet. "You identified their key weakness. They're not used to fighting as a unified force." Ross nodded. "They've conquered other species, but always individually. The Council has maintained peace among its members for so long that none of them have recent combat experience against equals. Meanwhile, humans have been fighting other humans since we climbed down from the trees," General Harris added grimly. Admiral Wright brought up a tactical display of Jupiter and its moons. "Their advance force arrives here in 2 days. Commander Green is setting up the welcome party. If your assessment is correct, Lieutenant Ross, their coalition will start to fracture after the first real engagement." "And then?" Ross asked. "And then we show them humans aren't the monsters they think we are," Wright replied. "But we're not pushovers either." As Ross returned to her station, she noticed the calm efficiency around her. Nobody was panicking. Nobody was giving dramatic speeches about humanity's last stand. Instead, engineers were arguing about power distribution, pilots were running simulations, and scientists were developing countermeasures to alien technology. The Galactic Council had announced war, expecting Earth to tremble. Instead, humans simply got to work. Commander Daniel Green floated silently in the command bubble of the EDF Resilient, a converted mining vessel hidden in the shadow of Europa. 5 other ships, all civilian craft hastily refitted with weapons, waited nearby, their lights and engines dark. The Council's advance fleet had just exited FTL at the edge of Jupiter's gravity well. 16 warships, reported his second-in-command, Kate Daniels. Standard Council formation, just like Lieutenant Ross predicted. Green nodded, watching the alien ships on the tactical display. They moved with precision, spreading out in a textbook search pattern. Too textbook, too predictable. They're scanning for military installations, Daniel said, specifically looking for the missile bases we supposedly have hidden under Europa's ice. Green allowed himself a small smile. Let's not disappoint them. Deploy the decoys. Throughout the Jupiter system, small automated drones activated, broadcasting signals that mimicked power signatures from fictional Earth weapons. The Council ships immediately reacted, converging on what they thought were hidden human fortresses. They're splitting up, Green observed, executing exactly the response their military manuals dictate. He switched to the comm system. All ships, prepare for Operation Pebble. The human ships remained hidden as the alien fleet separated. Green waited until the largest Council vessel passed into position, then gave the command. Now, from the surface of Europa, massive mining charges, normally used to break up ice for resource extraction, detonated in sequence. The explosions weren't powerful enough to damage the alien ships directly, but they didn't need to be. Huge chunks of ice erupted into space, creating an instant debris field. The Council ships tried to evade but couldn't maneuver quickly enough. Several smaller vessels took direct hits from ice chunks the size of buildings. The others found themselves surrounded by a cloud of fast-moving ice particles that overwhelmed their defensive shields. Phase 2, Green ordered calmly. The 6 human ships powered up and emerged from hiding, approaching from different angles. They were laughably outgunned by even a single Council warship, but the aliens didn't know that. All they saw were unknown vessels appearing through the ice cloud. Broadcast the message, said Green. Every Council ship received the same transmission. A casual greeting from Commander Green, asking if they were lost and needed directions back to Council space. They're trying to regroup, Daniels reported. Their formation is falling apart. Green nodded. Launched the mining drones. Dozens of small automated drones designed to cut through ice and rock swarmed toward the Council ships. They weren't weapons, but the aliens couldn't know that. One alien ship panicked and fired on the drones, triggering a chain reaction as other Council vessels opened fire too, sometimes hitting their allies in the confusion. Perfect, Green said quietly. Begin harassment maneuvers. The human ships darted in and out of the debris field, using the ice chunks for cover. They fired their mining lasers, repurposed but still far less powerful than proper weapons, at the alien ships' sensor arrays. They weren't trying to destroy the Council fleet, just confuse and disorient them. Sir, they're retreating, Daniel said with disbelief in her voice. 3 of their ships are badly damaged, and the others are pulling back. Green watched as the Council fleet regrouped at a safe distance, then accelerated away from Jupiter, back toward open space. No pursuit was necessary, or possible, given the humans' limited capabilities. Send the message to Earth, he ordered. First contact successful. The Council's advance force has withdrawn. As reports came in from his other ships, minimal damage, no casualties, Green allowed himself to relax slightly. The Council had expected to find a fearsome military power with advanced weapons and battle-hardened troops. Instead, they had encountered 6 retrofitted civilian ships using mining equipment and ice. In the Council flagship, the alien commander was preparing a report to send back to the main fleet. How could he explain that the dreaded humans had defeated his force using what appeared to be industrial equipment? More importantly, why had the humans seemed so casual about the entire encounter, as if they weren't even taking the battle seriously? The Battle of Jupiter's moons would soon become legendary. The day humans shrugged off an alien attack like it was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Grace Martinez took a sip of her coffee and grinned at the chaos unfolding on her screens. As head of Earth's newly formed cyber warfare division, She was fighting the war without firing a single shot. Her team occupied an underground facility that had once been a data center for a social media company. Now it served as the front line in humanity's information war against the Galactic Council. Status report. She called out to the room full of programmers, linguists, and communication specialists. Her deputy, Alan Foster, walked over with a tablet. We've successfully infiltrated the Council's primary communication network. Their encryption was impressive, but not designed to keep out species they didn't know existed. Grace nodded. And the misinformation campaign? Running perfectly, Alan replied. We've spread rumors about Earth's phantom fleet through their military channels. According to Council intelligence reports, which we wrote, humans have developed technology that makes ships invisible to all sensors. Around the room, dozens of specialists worked at terminals, some analyzing alien communications, others crafting carefully designed messages to send through Council networks. They had discovered that the Council species, despite their advanced technology, were surprisingly vulnerable to something humans had been doing to each other for centuries. Psychological warfare. Show me the panic meter, Grace said. Alan brought up a display showing sentiment analysis across different Council species. Several were deep in the red zone, indicating widespread fear and uncertainty. The Zentari are the most affected, he explained. They're a naturally anxious species, and the rumors about human teleportation technology have their high command in disarray. Grace chuckled. They watch too many episodes of Star Trek in our broadcasts. What about the Moravians? They're starting to question Council leadership. Their representatives have filed formal complaints about being missiled regarding human capabilities. This was exactly what Admiral Wright had hoped for. The Council wasn't a truly unified government, but a loose alliance of species with their own interests. Under pressure, those alliances were beginning to fracture. Ma'am, we've got something interesting, called out one of the specialists. 3 of the smaller Council races are trying to establish secure communication channels with Earth. Grace raised an eyebrow. They want to talk. They want to make separate peace deals, the specialist explained. They're afraid of being on the losing side. This was better than they had expected. Grace immediately informed Admiral Wright, who authorized opening diplomatic channels. Within hours, Earth was secretly negotiating with Council members who had officially declared war just days earlier. The negotiations took place via secure quantum channels. Grace watched the recordings with fascination. The Earth diplomats, following Wright's strategy, appeared completely unconcerned throughout the meetings. They spoke casually about the war as if it were a minor diplomatic misunderstanding, rather than an existential threat. The Lori representatives looked terrified. Alan observed during one recording. They keep waiting for demands or threats that never come. Grace nodded. The more relaxed we act, the more they wonder what we know that they don't. By the end of the week, 5 Council species had secretly approached Earth for separate agreements. The Council's united front was crumbling without a single major battle being fought. Time for Phase 3, Grace announced to her team. Operation Smoke and Mirrors. This was their most ambitious plan yet, creating entirely fictional human battle fleets in Council tracking systems. When Council commanders looked at their tactical displays, they would see human ships that didn't exist, moving in patterns designed to cause maximum confusion. Will they fall for it? Ellen asked. Grace smiled. They'll want to fall for it. They've convinced themselves we're 10 steps ahead, so they're looking for those steps everywhere. As her team implemented the operation, Grace received word from Admiral Wright that Earth was preparing its first counteroffensive. Soon, the Council would face actual human ships, not just digital phantoms. Ready for some real action? She asked Alan. He grinned. I thought we were just getting started with the fun. The information war had given humanity precious time. While the Council chased shadows and argued amongst themselves, Earth had prepared for an unexpected offensive, and they still had no idea what humans were truly capable of or not capable of. Major Frank Wilson studied the holographic display showing his small fleet of 8 ships approaching the Centauri border outpost. 6 of the vessels were converted cargo haulers, reinforced with scavenged armor and fitted with mining lasers. Only 2 were actual Earth Defense Force ships with military-grade weapons. It wasn't much of an attack force, but it didn't need to be. Status report. He called to his bridge crew. Council defenses are active but confused. Lieutenant Ryan Hall reported. They're detecting our actual ships plus 20 Phantom signatures from Martinez's cyber team. Wilson nodded, pleased. This was humanity's first offensive action against the Council, a daring strike deep into their territory. According to conventional military wisdom, it was suicide. According to Earth's strategy, it was perfect. All ships, maintain formation Delta. Wilson ordered. Remember, we're not here to win a pitched battle. We're here to be seen. The Earth fleet approached the outpost at a casual pace. No evasive maneuvers, no attempt at stealth. The Council defenders were clearly panicking, their communications filled with contradictory orders and confusion about the human ship's capabilities. They're launching interceptors, Hall announced. Hold course, Wilson replied calmly. Defensive measures only. The Council interceptors approached cautiously, as if expecting traps. When no mysterious human superweapons activated, they grew bolder, moving to engage the Earth fleet directly. Now, Wilson ordered. The Earth ships suddenly broke formation, each following its own seemingly random path. It was a maneuver no military manual would recommend, chaotic, unpredictable, with no clear tactical advantage. The Council ships hesitated, unable to determine which targets to prioritize. Activate the commercial transponders, Wilson commanded. In an instant, all the Earth ships began broadcasting standard civilian identification codes. To the Council sensors, the attacking fleet suddenly appeared to be a group of merchant vessels. The defenders hesitated again, confused by the contradictory data. Wilson used that moment of confusion to strike. The 2 military vessels targeted the outpost communication array, while the converted cargo ships disabled the defense platforms. It was over in minutes. Broadcast the message, Wilson ordered. Throughout the outpost and to all nearby Council worlds, the same video played. Major Wilson, sitting casually in his command chair, thanking the Council for the interesting morning exercise and mentioning his plans to grab lunch before his afternoon appointments. The message was deliberately mundane, as if attacking the Council outpost was nothing more than a routine training drill for humans. Outposts secured, sir, Hall reported. Minimal damage, no casualties on either side. Wilson nodded. Perfect. Plant the flag and prepare to withdraw. A simple Earth flag was left floating in space near the disabled outpost, a symbolic gesture rather than a territorial claim. Within hours, news of the human attack spread throughout Council space, growing more exaggerated with each retelling. As Wilson's fleet departed, Council military leaders across 3 sectors launched into emergency sessions. How had humans penetrated so far into Council territory? Why had they attacked such a minor outpost rather than a valuable target? What was their true objective? The questions were exactly what Earth wanted them asking. Incoming transmission from Admiral Wright, Hall announced as they cleared Council space. Wright appeared on the main screen, her expression pleased. Excellent work, Major. The Council is in disarray. Their central worlds are demanding increased protection, pulling forces away from the planned invasion fleet. Any word on how they're interpreting our attack? Wilson asked. Their military analysts are baffled, Wright replied with a smile. Some think it was a test of their defenses. Others believe it was a distraction from a larger operation. None of them consider the possibility that it was exactly what it appeared to be, a small force achieving a small objective. As Wilson's fleet returned to Earth, reports came in from across Council space. 3 more member species had secretly reached out for separate peace talks. The Council's War Council was fractured, with accusations flying about security breaches and leadership failures. And all this had been accomplished with 8 ships and no casualties. "What's our next target?" Wilson asked before the transmission ended. The counteroffensive hadn't been about winning battles. It had been about winning minds, and by that measure, it had been an overwhelming success. The Council had expected to fight monsters. Instead, they were fighting humans who treated interstellar war like an inconvenient errand. Ambassador Natalie Patel straightened her simple blue suit as she entered the Grand Council chamber. Unlike the ornate robes and elaborate armor worn by the alien representatives, her outfit was plain and professional. She carried no weapons, no electronic devices, not even a translator, a fact that had flustered the Council's security teams. "The human representative may approach," announced the Council speaker, a tall insect-like being with compound eyes that shimmered in the chamber's light. Natalie walked forward with an easy confidence that made several Council members shift uncomfortably. 3 weeks of war, and this was the first formal diplomatic meeting between Earth and the full Galactic Council. "I thank the Council for this opportunity to speak," she said in perfect Council standard, surprising those who didn't know humans had quickly mastered their language. "Earth is pleased to finally have this conversation. You speak as if this meeting were a social call," the Zentari representative hissed. "Your planet is at war with the combined might of 17 advanced civilizations." Natalie smiled pleasantly. "Yes, about that. There seems to have been a misunderstanding." She activated a small projector she had been permitted to bring. It displayed images of Earth, cities, farms, families and parks, ordinary human life. "This is who we are," she explained. "A young species that only recently developed faster than light travel. We have no planet-destroying weapons, no cloaked fleets hiding in nebulas, and definitely no mind control technology." The Council chamber erupted in confused murmurs. "This is deception," shouted the Moravian representative. "We have analyzed your broadcasts. We know of your capabilities." Natalie's smile didn't waver. "You analyzed our entertainment, our fiction. Stories we tell each other for fun, not documentaries of our actual technology." She changed the display to show clips from popular science fiction shows, then corresponding Council intelligence reports that treated those fictional capabilities as fact. "Your arrival in galactic society was unexpected," the Council speaker said, more subdued now. "Your rapid technological advancement concerned many." "I understand," Natalie replied. "But declaring war was an extreme response to that concern, don't you think?" She changed the display again, this time showing internal Council communications. The chamber went completely silent. "We have evidence that certain corporate interests within the Council manipulated intelligence reports to push for this conflict," she said calmly. "Specifically, the Dralid Weapons Consortium, which has significant investments in 7 Council member worlds." The Keldaran representative stood abruptly. "These accusations are outrageous. How did you access private Council communications?" Natalie shrugged. "We asked nicely, and some of your colleagues shared them with us." The revelation that some Council members had been secretly communicating with Earth sent another shock wave through the chamber. The unity of the Council was visibly crumbling. "Even if what you say is true," the speaker said carefully, "your species has demonstrated unusual capabilities during this conflict. Your tactics are unpredictable." "We call it thinking outside the box," Natalie replied. "When you have limited resources, you learn to be creative." For the next hour, Natalie methodically dismantled the Council's justifications for war. She revealed the true extent of Earth's military capabilities, far less impressive than what the Council feared, while highlighting how human ingenuity had allowed them to put up an effective resistance. By the end of her presentation, several Council species had formally withdrawn from the conflict. The Zentari representative looked physically ill at the realization they had been manipulated into war by corporate interests. Only a few hardliners, led by the Dralid representative, maintained hostile positions. "Those who wish to continue this unnecessary conflict should know that Earth is prepared to defend itself," Natalie said, her voice taking on a more serious tone for the first time. but we would prefer to talk about trade deals and cultural exchanges instead. As the meeting concluded, the Moravian representative approached Natalie privately. I must know, they said quietly, if you are truly not the military power we feared, why did your people seem so unconcerned when we declared war? Why did your ships act so casual in combat? Natalie smiled. Because panic never helped anyone solve a problem. We've learned that lesson many times throughout our history. As she left the chamber, Natalie received word that most council species had agreed to immediate ceasefire. However, a faction led by the Drellid and their closest allies was preparing one final massive attack on Earth, a desperate gamble to save face and preserve their power in the council. Captain Ethan Carter stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, watching as the final council battle fleet emerged from FTL near Earth's orbit. It was a massive force, over 50 ships, representing the hardliner factions that had refused the ceasefire. All defense platforms online, reported his tactical officer. Civilian shelters secure. Carter nodded calmly. Open a channel to the council flagship. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Drellid commander. The reptilian alien scales darkened with what Carter had learned was their species' expression of anger or determination. Human vessel, the Drellid commander said, we offer one final chance for your surrender before we demonstrate the true might of the Galactic Council. Carter leaned back in his chair. Actually, I was about to offer you the same courtesy. There's been enough misunderstanding already. The Drellid commander hissed in frustration. Your arrogance will be your downfall. Prepare for. The transmission suddenly cut off. On the tactical display, Carter watched as nearly a third of the Council fleet's ships went dark, their systems shutting down simultaneously. What's happening? Asked his second officer. Carter smiled. That would be our allies in the Council. Looks like the peace faction decided to help out. Across the Council fleet, ships from species that had agreed to the ceasefire were sabotaging the attack from within. Some simply disabled their weapons, while others actively turned against the hardliners. The carefully organized formation fell into chaos. Admiral Wright is signaling, the communications officer announced. Operation Truth is authorized. Carter straightened in his chair. About time we showed them what we can really do. For the first time since the war began, Earth revealed its actual military capabilities. From concealed positions around the solar system, 20 specialized defense vessels emerged, ships that had been kept hidden not because they were part of some vast armada, but because they were literally all Earth had. Forward batteries online, Carter ordered. Target the Drellid flagship's propulsion systems only. Disable, don't destroy. The human ships moved with practiced precision, focusing fire on specific systems rather than attempting to destroy the Council vessels. It wasn't the overwhelming power the Council had feared, but it was effective and disciplined. In the Drellid flagship, Commander Cetric watched in confusion as his mighty fleet collapsed around him, not from some devastating superweapon, but from precise, tactical strikes and internal sabotage. The humans weren't fighting like the unstoppable warriors of legend. They were fighting like professionals. We have lost engine control, his second reported. Weapon systems are inoperable. Cetric stared at the view screen. How many ships can still fight? 7, Commander. The rest are disabled or have changed sides. The battle was over almost as quickly as it had begun. With most of their fleet neutralized, the hardliners had no choice but to accept defeat. Incoming transmission from Earth Command, Carter's communications officer announced. Admiral Wright appeared on screen. Well done, Captain. The Council fleet has surrendered. Please escort their command ship to the diplomatic station. 3 days later, representatives from all Council species gathered on a neutral space station to sign the formal peace agreement. The hardliners, stripped of their influence, watched sullenly as a new era of cooperation was established. The terms shocked everyone. Instead of demanding reparations or territorial concessions, Earth asked only for fair trade agreements, technology exchanges, and cultural missions. When the Drellid representative questioned this leniency, Ambassador Patel simply smiled. "Why would we want anything else?" she asked. "War is expensive. Friendship is profitable." The signing ceremony transitioned to what humans called a reception, a celebration with food, drink, and music. The council representatives watched in bewilderment as humans laughed, danced, and mingled with alien species they had been fighting just days earlier. "I don't understand," the Zentari ambassador said to Captain Carter, who was enjoying a drink by the viewport. "Throughout this conflict, your people acted as if the war was inconvenient rather than existential. Why?" Carter looked out at the stars, considering the question. "I think it's because we've spent our history fighting other humans. We know what real existential threats look like." "But weren't you afraid?" the Zentari pressed. "Of course we were," Carter admitted. "But fear doesn't help you win. Keeping calm does." Across the room, Admiral Wright raised a glass. "To new beginnings," she toasted. "May we never again mistake fiction for fact or difference for danger." 6 months after the peace treaty, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. Where once only alien representatives sat in rigid hierarchy, now humans mingled freely among them. The central podium had been replaced with a round table, symbolizing the new equality among species. Dr. Ben Hayes adjusted his glasses as he prepared his presentation. As Earth's chief xenoanthropologist, he had been studying why the conflict happened and how it was resolved. Today, he would share his findings with the Reformed Council. "The floor recognizes Dr. Hayes of Earth," announced the new council speaker, a Moravian who had been among the first to push for peace. "Thank you," Ben said, activating his display. "My team has spent months analyzing the cultural misunderstandings that led to our brief war. Our findings might surprise you." The chambers fell silent as representatives from 23 species, the original 17 plus 6 new members, turned their attention to the human. "The primary cause wasn't fear of human technology," Ben explained. "It was a fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology." On the screen appeared clips from Council military assessments of human behavior during the conflict. Each noted the strange casualness of human responses to threat. "Council species evolved on worlds where predators were a constant threat," Ben continued. "When faced with danger, your evolutionary response was to either display immediate aggression or signal submission. No middle ground." Several representatives nodded in recognition. Humans evolved differently. On Earth, our ancestors weren't the strongest or fastest creatures. We survived by working together and staying calm under pressure. When we seem casual about threats, it's not arrogance. It's our way of thinking clearly. Captain Carter, now serving as Earth's military liaison to the Council, smiled from his seat. He remembered the confusion on alien faces when humans responded to war declarations by inviting them to sporting events. "The second misunderstanding was about our entertainment," Ben said. "Council intelligence analyze our fiction as fact because you come from cultures where storytelling serves different purposes." The display showed clips from various alien cultures where stories were primarily educational or historical. Human fiction often explores fears and fantasies, things that aren't real. We tell stories about powerful weapons or alien invasions, not because we have them, but because we're curious about what-if scenarios. The Zentari representative raised a hand. "This explains much. We thought your casual attitude meant you possessed overwhelming power. We never considered it might be just how you are." Ben nodded. "Exactly. And this brings me to my recommendation." He switched to his final slide, showing a proposal for a galactic cultural exchange program. "To prevent future misunderstandings, I propose we establish centers on each member world where species can learn about each other directly, not through intelligence reports or intercepted broadcasts." The proposal passed unanimously. Within weeks, the first cultural centers opened across Council space. Humans taught alien species about Earth customs while learning about life on distant worlds. In a small cafe near the Council chambers, Admiral Wright sat with Cedric, the former Dralid commander who had led the final attack on Earth. "I still don't understand how your people remained so composed," Cedric said, his scales now the lighter color of relaxation. "Even knowing what I know now about human evolution." Wright smiled. "It's simple. Throughout our history, the humans who kept their heads in a crisis tended to survive. The ones who panicked didn't." "A useful trait," Cedric admitted. "My people could learn from this approach." "And we could learn from your people's unity of purpose," Wright replied. "That's the point of peace. We're stronger together than apart." Outside the cafe window, a group of human and alien children played together in a park. They had no memory of the brief war, only of the friendship that followed. A Galactic News Network reporter filming nearby asked one of the human children what she thought about living among aliens who had once declared war on Earth. The girl looked confused at the question, then shrugged. "That was grown-up stuff from before. We're friends now. That's what matters." Her simple response made headlines across council space. It perfectly captured humanity's approach to the universe: practical, forward-looking, and fundamentally optimistic. The war that began with a shrug ended with a handshake, and the galaxy was better for it.